Oh, shit. Forgot GarageBand.
Me too. Excellent. We'll just go with it.
Yeah.
We're recording now, but it's all good. Like,
Yeah.
I'll just.
Hey, Lou. For the nobody that's watching right now.
Yeah, exactly. So you're made. You're made. Right. Okay. Let's go off. Frying pan. Check. And we're good. Yeah.
All right. Give me 1 sec. Again, my computer takes 7 hours to load. How's the new website doing, by the way?
Good, though a bit stalled at the moment. Like we actually have a load of stuff to release, but haven't done it yet. I'm not sure why. I'm going to sort it out this weekend. Well, maybe later or tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. I am recording.
You good?
Good to go. Yep, good to go.
Magic. Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, loyal listeners. Welcome back to the Frying Pan Podcast, episode number 9. That's right. You heard correctly. Number 9. We are almost up to double figures here in Frying Pan Land, which represents almost more than 2 months' work, which is quite impressive that we've kept it going this far and kept you informed with all the comings and goings of things in southern Spain and in Indonesia. And that was precisely what we were going to talk about today, in fact, was how exactly we ended up in these far-flung places. And also we wanted to touch upon the phenomenon in our generation of studying and getting a sort of faceless job in a faceless city, which you don't seem to enjoy or get any kind of personal pleasure from, which you do for the best part of 70 years until you die, which I think is quite a common, it's certainly a very common career path that is being trod by many other 20-somethings that I and Rowan know. As always, I'm joined here by fellow writer and good friend, Rowan Kane. Rowan, how are you doing?
It's really hot right here. There's no draft this evening, and I'm in like the back of my house that normally doesn't get a draft, so I'm not sure why I'm surprised. And there's mosquitoes flying around. But other than that, Lou, I'm doing all right, hanging in there. How about yourself?
Excellent. I'm good too. It's interesting you mentioned mosquitoes because they've just become like a very big problem here because it rained one day and it clearly enticed these like millions of them out. So they're actually, I feel your pain. It's a terribly itchy experience in Spain, worse than normal at the moment. And there's nothing you can really do about it at all, which is very, very frustrating.
Even bug spray doesn't really work.
No, nothing. Pretty much nothing. But I mean, that's a subject for another podcast in itself. Really, mosquitoes. They play a very big part here and anywhere where it's slightly more pleasant weather than Scotland or Connecticut, I'd imagine.
Mosquitoes in Connecticut can get pretty rough during the summer. Okay. They come out in the evenings and they're We used to have malaria in Connecticut, and they have in the marshes down by the water, they have mosquito trenches where they used to have all the mosquitoes lay their eggs, and then they just come down with DDT and DDT, the stuff that killed all the birds. So little history, little epidemiological history lesson there.
Fantastic.
That's the word, but yeah.
So it's a very good word. It's a very good word.
Yeah. So we're talking about why and how and the reasons behind our low. So English village in southern Spain. What are you doing there, and how did you get there?
Ostensibly I am an English teacher. I could probably use the definite article, say I am the English teacher, actually, because there is only one.
El English teacher.
Yeah, the El Profesor. And I currently, rather unusually for a town of this magnitude, which is less than 5,000 people, there seems to be a great wish to learn English. Mainly because you actually need to be able to speak a bit of English in order to study or get a job in Spain, which are two things that a lot of people want to do. And I mean, thinking about it, it's actually quite unfair, really. And every day I sort of bless myself that I am a native English speaker. And maybe you do too, because we really have to have almost no knowledge of a foreign language in order to do anything in life, actually. Is it the same in America?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same pretty much everywhere, that you can kind of get by with a modicum of English. And if you're a native English speaker, doors open up pretty much anywhere in the world. You can get a job almost anywhere in the world. Oddly enough, Indonesia is it's one of those countries, like I think I would say France isn't it as well? They they're not very good at teaching English, or because they don't really care, I think.
Okay.
Some places care, some are some push for it, but the country as a whole is very proud and very kind of like, well, at least going back, like in their education system is not, they don't really care if you can speak English or not.
Okay.
This is their country. You need to speak their language. And it's actually come up recently that, a couple times, that if you work here, you need to learn Indonesian.
Mm-hmm.
You need to take like a proficiency test to get a visa. So I'm not looking forward to that. But sorry, I went off track there.
No, it's very interesting. It is very interesting.
Yeah. So they needed an English teacher, but why this little village?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I having sort of lived in London for a little while beforehand, and being completely sick of the place, the city anyway, I had to sort of make a quick exit, and through the Scottish mafia, which is the fact that Scottish people know all other Scottish people in the world, no matter how far away. It turned out there was a Scottish person who knew another Scottish person who knew another Scottish person who worked in a school near here, and they needed another Scottish person to staff it, and that was where I came in. So I basically took the job without knowing anything, actually. I just said yes, and then got the first flight out to Spain. Actually, tell a lie. I was in Spain before, and then they offered me the job. So I was kind of doing nothing in Madrid for a while, and then they offered me a job, and I came down here to this unknown place and started working as an English teacher, which is what I do.
Yeah. And what kind of hours is it?
It's pretty cushy, actually, to be honest with you. I work like 25 hours a week with all sorts of people, adults, and from 4-year-olds to adults. 4-year-olds which present a great challenge in that some of them not only cannot write or speak Spanish yet. One of them actually the other week informed me that he did not know how to wipe his own ass after taking a dump, and that came down to me. I refused to keep our listeners abreast of developments. I actually refused to get involved with that on any sort of physical level. But this is this is the kind of thing that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. But it's an interesting job. The English language is a lot more interesting than I ever thought it would be. And obviously, I never learned English before. I just spoke it. I've never learned it formally, so to speak. So you learn a lot. You do learn a lot, and it's good. I mean, for readers of my writing, obviously, I've never had a particularly high level of employment, and I would say that this is the best job I've ever worked. But then all the other jobs I've ever worked have been either like grimly depressing or incredibly boring.
As a former editor of yours, I can attest to the fact that you never learned English in a proper sense.
Okay, yeah, it is. My English is actually quite bad overall. I have many students who are and frequently who are much better and frequently do catch me out on what I say and what I do and what I write. It's getting better,
Yeah.
and I can only apologize for all the sort of long hours that I put you through.
Well, let it be known. Let it be known that that it doesn't take good English to be a good writer. I think that's something to take away, because you are a
Yeah,
very good writer, but it
thank
doesn't.
you.
And your English is good. I don't mean to disparage you, but it's you don't need perfect English to be a very good writer.
No, I think the point kind of will come across if it's going to come across.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's cushy hours by your own words. Does that was that a draw for you? Did you know about that
Not
beforehand?
really. No, I
No.
really just took the first offer that was on the table. It was a choice between here and Istanbul, actually, and I thought I've been to Istanbul before, and it would be great, but beer is really expensive there, and they sort of frown a little bit upon public inebriation, and those two factors kind of well, they swayed me towards this place. Great place to visit. Not the best night out in Europe you go for.
Fair.
If that
Fair.
makes sense.
Unless you're a Galatasaray or
oh no, I'm sure it's got
Beşiktaş fan.
its I'm sure it's got its charms, but like Turkish prison sounds rubbish, and I don't want to do. I didn't really want to do that. The offer's still on the table. I may do it in the future. You never know.
Huh. That's an idea. I've thought about Istanbul before.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Scottish-ish, so maybe I'll drop a line for your boy. Anyway, so the cushiness wasn't a factor in you kind of not in you taking the shop. What pushed you away? What pushes you away from not working in a quote unquote normal job?
Yeah, good question. So I look at like our sort of compatriots and the people we studied with and the hours they do and what their life sort of is like in Britain and maybe in America as well, actually. Actually, I know many Americans who work kind of similar officey jobs, and it's quite heavy going, a kind of 48-hour week, sort of living for the weekend and so 9 to 6, 9 to 7 every day, just doing a lot of work. I've always been of the opinion that like work is a bit crap, like in general. And like if you can do a job where you do as little as possible for like the highest quality of life, that is all you could possibly ask for. So like obviously if I could, I'd do no work. That would be ideal. But like the least amount of work for the highest quality of life would be my sort of my mantra, if there was such a thing.
Yeah. And so I'm a little bit maybe not different from that, but because I don't really, I mean, I don't like 9 to 5 work. Not that I've ever really done it, but I can't see myself doing it because like I need when I work, I need to actually believe in the work, or I kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Cop out. What's the word? Tap out pretty quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. I need to actually believe in it. And if I believe in it and I enjoy it, you're not gonna. I don't mind working because that's not work for me. That's just kind of me pushing towards something. So like I was talking to my mom this morning actually about this a little bit, and for me it's either like it's like 24/7. Like I work 24/7, which is basically what I did on my last couple jobs where I'm in politics, where basically you're on the clock all the time, and you can take time off, but there's no like set weekends. Like weekends you're working through, so you kind of take maybe a Monday night off or something like that. So but in that work, like I'm actually working for something, and I feel like whether I am making a difference or not is irrelevant. I feel like I'm making a difference.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what my kind of goal is.
Hmm.
But when I go home, and this is going to be a little test for me. So I'm going home November, beginning of next month for a couple months. So it won't be an expat podcast any longer. It'll be a kind of Rowan returns home and Louis still an expat
Okay.
podcast for a little while. But I'm going to get a bartending job. I think I'm going to try to get a bartending job, and that'll be an interesting little test to see how we deal with the menial labor.
Yeah, like kind of pointless jobs. I mean, I've worked
Yeah,
a plethora, so
yeah.
I
You are the expert in kind of that stuff. So would you keep doing that, or was that a kind of just make money?
No, that was really just because, well, I only ever worked like a lot of these because one, you could well, yeah, the money was like quite easy, and like the job is also quite easy, and it's easy to kind of get into the state of just working in a bar. And also I love drinking, and like you had access to like a large range of both spirits and beer, which you were taking stock on. So this was always also quite a draw. And I like it was good actually. I did enjoy a lot of things. You meet a lot of very good people working in bars, very interesting people, depending on the bar. But yeah, it's a time-honored profession, and I would much rather work in a bar on a sort of permanent basis than work in a bank, a sort of soulless corporate kind of job. Absolutely. You did mention it's quite interesting, and just like having a job that you gain some kind of personal happiness, any kind of sustainable goal of happiness is like that's enough. Like, but just kind of working in one of these, going and working for PwC or something straight after studying and doing that for the rest of your life I would maybe take death over that actually.
Yeah.
If it came down to it, yeah.
But it's like, so this, I can see what, it's not that I don't understand, and I'm with you on this. I agree with you, but I can see the other side of it, and I can see the comfort that comes from having a weekly paycheck that comes through, and you can pay for your college loans, which I'm not really doing to any real degree right now. You can pay for like insurance, medical insurance, which is an issue for you because you're British, but for me, I got to pay fucking out my ass for any medical stuff. So like I'm seeing that in a couple weeks actually. When I turn 26, which is in 13 days, 12 days, my parents' medical insurance lapses. So now I'm seeing these bills and seeing this kind of this. I'm like, oh, so that's why people have jobs that pay you, and there's a kind of comfort in that. But on the other hand, like I've decided to not do that. Like that's not for me.
Yeah, buck the trend.
Yeah, yeah. And we're talking about ourselves a lot here, but I guess that's what. Well, I'm talking a lot about myself, but
me too.
Yeah. So when you're looking at this, the money end of it, does the money speak to you at all, or is that kind of is that not even an issue?
Not really. I mean, the quality of life is maybe a third of the price here. Like the price of living, the cost of living is what I'm looking for. And like I can afford to kind of go out for dinner every night on what I earn, and like get pretty drunk as well. Like drink a lot of beer and do whatever I want really. Travel around, like it's really no issue at all. And like by British standards, I get paid like sweet fuck all. I mean, it wouldn't last 2 weeks in London or Edinburgh for that matter. But the fact that I kind of, everything is just so kind of not by the book here, it's just wonderful. You can pay everything in cash, like bills are done on just speaking to somebody and judging how much you've used. My rent's done in cash, like everything's just very cheap and there's no leases, there's no contracts, there's no nothing. It suits me down to the ground, really.
Yeah, and I think that's important for our kind of expat, because there's the other kind of expat that works for PwC or works for, I don't fucking know, Deloitte or wherever they're going to the or RBS fucking Singapore or whatever. And that's fair. That's one kind of expat lifestyle. But for our expat lifestyle, that cost of living and having a low cost of living is so nice. It's so nice. And cost of living in here in Bali and Indonesia in general is so cheap. Like I'm in this is probably the second most expensive place in Indonesia. Jakarta is probably more expensive, but it's so cheap. I had lunch today for like a big ass lunch for like $1.50, like a quid, like a pound.
£1 lunch doesn't get you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
yeah.
It's hard to quantify, really.
No, and which is what I need to live on, because it's writer's pay. Like I'm not getting paid a lot, but it's just so nice to have that. Go have a beer for like the most I'm going to spend on a night out is like maybe $20, and that's if I'm going heavy. Like that's a lot of drinking.
A big one, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. But yeah. So what do you have any what are your other thoughts on this kind of why we're out here, why we're not doing the thing? And if you have anything that you want to ask me, go for it.
Yeah, no. I'm interested in why. I mean, obviously after uni, you spent time in Holland as well.
Yeah.
In Holland, which is a pretty big. Holland ostensibly is exactly the same as Britain. It's just they're a bit more liberal with their drugs and prostitutes and stuff like that. But fundamentally, it's quite similar. Did you know anything about Indonesia before you went out there, or was it on the cards?
Not a goddamn thing. Yeah. I knew almost nothing about it, and nobody knows anything about Indonesia. That's the thing. It's the fourth most populous country in the world, and nobody knows a goddamn thing about it. No. Which is frankly one of the things that drew me to it, was the ability to come here, and if I'm writing about stuff here, people back home have no idea what's going on. So I find like one or two stories that are really basic and really kind of interesting, they're not getting reported back home. It's pretty easy to say, hey, I'm here, let's write about this. And have people do it. But yeah, no, I didn't know a thing about Indonesia.
So
and Holland.
You just cast your stock to the wind and came to Indonesia. Okay.
Yeah, more or less. Like I was like, I think I said this before. I finished a job and said, yeah, let's go to Indonesia. I had a partner with me, so it was good, and that softened the blow a little bit. But it was, and the other thing is, and I think you've gotten a little bit of this as well, and you can go into it, how different the place actually is than what you were expecting.
Oh yeah. It's I'm in Europe, and it's maybe the polar opposite of Scotland anyway. Apart from the drinking, but even that's quite different as well. Apart from me, it is quite different. A complete Indonesia, I guess, that's like another world effectively.
It is so much different than anything, and it's not like the big differences, because they're like overall it's like you can find a lot of big similarities between something. It's just like the little kind of differences, the little changes, the little ways people act, the way people kind of carry themselves, the way people drive. Oh my God. I've been meaning to say this. on the podcast. If you only knew Indonesian drivers and we're straying a little bit from the topic, but that's all right. If you only knew Indonesians from the way they drive, you would think they're the most rude, obnoxious, pushy, inconsiderate people in the world. They're not at all. They're lovely people. But if you just saw how they drove, Oof.
Heavy.
Yeah, heavy.
Heavy doesn't cut it.
So I've talked us into a cul-de-sac there. So I'm going to turn around and drive our way out of it. The ability to kind of pick up and move and travel when you want and kind of have a more or less free lifestyle, as much as you can say a free lifestyle.
Yeah, comparatively. Yeah.
Is that I would imagine that's a draw as well. Maybe you don't even think about it, but it's certainly something that is there.
Yeah, no, not being really at the beck and call of anyone. The best advice that I've ever heard in my entire life was actually in the film Spinal Tap. And in like the end credits, there's the keyboard player who hasn't said a word the whole movie. And he's this sort of like weird kind of greasy dude that like plays multiple keyboards, but he doesn't say anything in the whole movie. And then they ask him, it's like, what is your advice about life? And he says, do whatever you want all the time. And that was like, bang, okay, that I can get behind. I totally can. And that I can kind of do that here, which is nice. If I worked for Deloitte, I don't think I could do that all the time. I did have like one question, which I'd be very interested to hear your take on here. Obviously, I kind of come from the kind of standard middle class idyll of going to university and then getting a job in like one of the major urban centers doing something that I don't really enjoy and has no specific relevance to my skill set, open close brackets.
Same.
And like my parents, well, my mother, who I grew up with, she I was speaking to her, and it took me the best part of 24 years to break my family's, like they just thought like, oh, he will eventually become a lawyer or an accountant, like it will happen, like he'll get it, like eventually he'll get it. And I was like, every time I said, no, I really don't want to do that. I just want to do whatever the fuck I want, just bug it all and like drink beer all the time. And they were like, yeah, sure thing. You're young, you don't understand. And then eventually it dawned on them like, oh fuck, like he's actually going to do it. Like, but bloody hell, like, it's going to happen. Like he's not going to be a lawyer. He's not going to be, he's not going to get a job in with a pension and like stable prospects and a house in Zone 4 in London and kind of do that for the rest of your life. It took a really long time. And I was trying to get this across to my mom, who finally was like, okay, shit, you're actually going to go and do something random. You're going to go and write. You're going to go and play music. You're going to go and teach English in Andalusia. Great. Did you have a similar, I don't know, is it a similar situation in your kind of household? Or
no, first I want to say, your mother's lovely. I love your mother. She let me crash in your room, actually. Your room? I'm not sure if it's your room or your brother's room, but
it may have been once, yeah.
Yeah, your mother's a lovely human being. No, I kind of blindsided my parents with this, and I think they're still kind of maybe not shocked,
okay,
but definitely off balance by it. Because through my entire life before 25, I had a plan. I still do have a plan, but I've kind of altered the plan a little bit. And my plan was, I was very straight-laced. Like I kind of went to, I got all A's, almost all A's until the very last couple of years of high school. I did okay in college, but I didn't do, or in university, I didn't do great in university, but I made it to a good university. So I didn't need to kind of like really excel. Yeah. And so I was very straight-laced. I always had a plan. I was actually going to join the military. Like I was going to.
I do remember that actually.
Yeah. And I mean, that's still kind of a way back in the back of my mind. I won't do it now. I think I'm getting on in years, but so I was very kind of straight-laced, always had a plan, always was, never really got in trouble at all. Never really kind of had any hints that I would go off a kind of chosen path. And then I decided to move to Indonesia, and they're just like, oh, well, that's not really what you've been showing us for the past 25 years. Okay, I guess we'll trust you, question mark. Seemed to be the kind of reaction. Because I think because to this point, I think and now I'm kind of showing my cards a little bit. I think I earned a certain amount of trust throughout those years. And now I'm kind of cashing in on that. I'm kind of like, I'm saying, okay, if you still trust me, I'm going to do this kind of crazy thing. And you can still trust me. If you trust me through this, then I got you. And actually, this conversation I had with my mom this morning was a little revealing, because I kind of gave her this plan, my new plan about how my writing is going to develop and how my ideas with that. And she's like, oh, so you actually do have a plan.
So it's like,
yeah, it was like, I think she was a little surprised by the fact that I was actually kind of thinking this through, and I'm not, I literally said, I'm not flying by the seat of my pants. So I think that's, this is my last point. I think that's the idea of people like traveling and people being an expat and living on a string budget and doing all the kind of stuff we're experiencing, not doing like the 9-to-5 house with a white picket fence job or life, doesn't mean they don't have a plan. It doesn't mean they don't have a kind of goals or whatever. And it may be their own goals. It may be to, what did you say? What was the thing? Do whatever you want, whenever you want, or do whatever you want all the time. Yeah. That may be the goal, but that's still a goal. I mean, that's still,
no, absolutely.
You're moving towards something, right?
No, it's true. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And I suppose I'd never really taken that into account. But yeah, no, it's an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
Still doesn't mean I'm going to go work for Deloitte, but even
no,
so,
absolutely not.
But I see why people would.
Well, but you don't even have to. I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of different people. There's a lot, and your 20s are a time to. Your 20s are your new, whatever. I don't know. 20s are the new teens.
Maybe
30s are your new 20s. I don't know.
Rock and roll. I never have to grow up. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, no, you never do. Do we want to keep going on this, or do we want to move on to our expat experience of the week?
We can move on to the expat experience of the week. We'll certainly come back to touching on this. I guess it's a running theme throughout any of the podcasts is why we're doing this. Yeah. So it's been very interesting to talk about it, though. Very interesting to talk about it. Yeah. So tell me, Ron, you got an expat experience of the week for me this week?
Do I have an expat experience of the week for you this week? I hadn't. I've given it some thought. I interviewed a Miss Universe Miss Universe contestant this week.
Okay, like the beauty pageant.
Like the beauty pageant, but only via text. So it was a little. I mean, I saw her in person, but then I interviewed her for a day. So the background to this is I did a piece for a international film festival that was coming through here, and she was a star of the only film that I went to during the entire film festival, and she was at the like after, not party, but like she was after the film, after the screening, she was kind of walking around the lobby taking pictures, signing autographs, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So I wanted to interview her for it, and I don't think I could have ever interviewed the Miss USA for Miss Universe, but I interviewed the Miss Indonesia for Miss Universe, and she met Donald. So I'm now, So I think that'll be my expat experience of the week. Yeah.
No, I mean, like Miss Universes that's a really. I only know really one person that's ever been to a Miss Universe. Or even been in touch with Miss Universe's thing. This is my granddad, who is dead now, but he went to one, and I think it resulted in an illegitimate child as well. So rock and roll.
Which is the best ending for anybody meeting a Miss Universe contestant.
Yeah, I think it's Miss Sweden as well. So good on the guy. Woo! Like, heavy going. But yeah, no, fantastic. That's something that I probably will not see as Miss Spain here. So well done.
Yeah. What about you, Lou? What did you get up to this week?
Well, I was thinking about it again. It was I have this like kind of running battle with the man with the leaf blower outside my window. Yeah. And it dawned on me like that 2 weeks ago I spoke to you guys about there was the shaving of the trees.
Yeah.
So they like shaved the trees and like pretty much bereft them of all their leaves. And I hadn't really thought about this in terms of the leaf blower man and his purpose in life, actually. And then this morning I was woken by the leaf blower again, and I went outside, and it suddenly dawned on me, like, not only are the trees outside my house, they're palm trees. They don't actually shed their leaves really at all. But there's actually no trees apart from them, so there isn't actually any leaves for him to do it. Like, it's like the pointlessness of his job was like exemplified this morning. So I went onto my balcony and I saw him and he was blowing. He must have been doing this for weeks as well, because like there's never been any trees and there's never been any leaves. So like he actually doesn't really have any, like his job is like really, really like it's truly, truly pointless. There is nothing to it. But today he was like blowing a pile of dust like around the square, like into the corner, like made a small pile of it and then blew it around a little more. And like either this guy is, I actually think he's probably a genius, like that he's managed to like, the council or the local government, he's managed to like get this job, which actually there is like no job requirement there. Like the job requirement is zero. There's nothing. Like all he has to do is like he just has to exist and he will draw pay. So it like dawned on me. Too. Yeah, I mean he's a civil servant technically. So I mean it like finally dawned on me like this man has completely nailed it. Like we talk about Deloitte and we talk about teaching English or writing, but if in terms of like doing the littlest amount of work, and in this case, no work, because there is nothing he could possibly do. Yeah, he's really done it. It's made me look upon this man with a newfound respect. Anyway, I just wish he'd do it at like 10 o'clock instead of 7:30. But
yeah, well, there's no failure. He can't fail.
No. And amazing. I'm sure his boss thinks he's doing a great job. And if the boss ever goes to the street, he will notice the street is really clean and there is no leaves. But nobody will ask that second question, like, why? And it's not because of him. It's because there's no fucking trees. And it's it's fantastic. Anyway, that's what I thought this week.
And we wonder why Spain is broke, because they have guys with a leaf blower not blowing any leaves.
Hey, listen, man, this isn't a one-off. I fucking doubt that this will be nationwide. This will be endemic. Yeah. There's hardly any trees in Andalusia apart from palm trees. Like this will be going on in every town. Like it'll be just like, just don't tell anyone. I better not. Yeah, I hope they don't listen to this, or I'll get like the old horse's head in the bed. But yeah, anyway, that was him today.
The leaf blower mafia, the leaf blower cartel. Well, it was great talking to you once again this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, ladies and gentlemen, you will have a slightly longer podcast, a bumper edition this week, as I'd say we've plumbed the depths, but that actually has sort of negative. Yeah. We've certainly we've looked at it in a very profound subject, and I hope you all enjoy. If you want to get in touch with us, you can get in touch with me at my magazine, TalkingSoup.com, or Twitter at Talking Soup Magazine. If you have a spare 5 minutes, please go on to iTunes and review the podcast.
Subscribe as well. Subscribe first, then review.
Right, cool. Subscribe, then review. Helps us keep it going. Helps us, it's good to hear your opinion anyway. Good to hear your opinion. Rowan, how do people get in touch with you?
on my blog, stories.wordpress.com, stories.wordpress.com. Tweet at me, RLMKANE. Yeah, I think that's it for this week, Lou.
I think that's it. That's it. It's a lot to mull over. Ladies and gentlemen, come back next week, same time, same place. We'll keep you entertained at the very least. Rowan, been a pleasure talking to you. See you next week.
See you next week, Lou.
Sarah.